morning students. Welcome to online class. Today we are going to discuss about one disease from chapter 15, human diseases. The name of the disease is tuberculosis. In the last class we discussed about malaria disease. Today we are going to discuss about tuberculosis, abbreviated form TB. Tuberculosis or TB is a common and deadly infectious disease caused by a bacteria known as Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Now the Mycobacterium tuberculosis infects the lungs, known as pulmonary TB, but it can also affect the other parts of the body like the central nervous system, that is the brain and the spinal cord, the lymphatic systems, the circulatory system, the urinogenital systems, our bones, joint, and even our skin. Over 1/3 of the world's population has been exposed to TB bacterium, and new infections occur at a rate of 1 second. Not everyone who infected TB develops the full-blown disease. In some people, the bacterium may be present in the body but in the form of latent, that is not active. Therefore, these people will not show any visible symptoms. However, 10% of latent infections will progress to active TB disease again if the disease is left untreated, killing more than 50% of its victims. In 2004, 14.6 million chronic active TB cases, then 8.9 million new cases of TB, and 1.6 million deaths were recorded, mostly in developing countries. World Health Organization declared TB as global health emergency in 1993. Now let's look at the symptoms of tuberculosis. Some of the symptoms of tuberculosis are chest pain, coughing up blood, prolonged cough for more than 3 weeks, then fever, chills, night sweat, sweating at night, appetite loss, weight loss, pale complexions. Pale complexions means the complexion is whiter than the normal complexion. Tendency to get tired easily. These are some of the symptoms of tuberculosis disease. In some cases, the infection moves from lungs to other body parts, causing other kinds of TB more in immunosuppressed person and young children. Immunosuppressed person means a person with less poor immune system. Newly infected sites include the pleura. Pleura means the outer covering of our lungs. The central nervous system meningitis. Okay, meningitis means inflammation or swelling of the lining of the brain and spinal cord. Then the lymphatic system in scrofula of the neck. Inflammation of lymph node in the neck. Urogenital tuberculosis. Urogenital means both genital and urinary system, bones and joints in port disease of the spine. Port disease means tuberculosis of spine. Now let us go to transmission. When TB patient cough, sneeze, speak, kiss or spit, they release infectious minute aerosol droplets, and these droplets, when come in contact with other people, it can cause tuberculosis. People with prolonged Okay, frequent or intense contact are at high risk of becoming infected. Suppose if the person spent longer duration or very often with the infected person, then that person is at high risk of contaminating with the bacterium. A person with active TB, okay, but not treated, can infect 10 to 15 other people in a year. Those people, okay, that risk of contaminating this bacterium include people in areas where TB is very common, people who inject illicit drugs, residents and employees of high-risk congested areas, then children exposed to infected adults, then HIV or AIDS patient with low immunity, and healthcare workers. Transmission can only occur from people with active tuberculosis but not with latent tuberculosis. The probability of transmission from one person to another depends upon the number of infectious droplets expelled by a carrier. Suppose if the carrier expelled more of these aerosol droplets, then it will infect more people. If they expelled less infectious aerosol droplets, then it will infect less people. The effectiveness of ventilation. Improve indoor ventilation, reduce the rate of transmission, but poorly ventilated indoors increase the rate of transmission of tuberculosis disease. The duration of exposures and the virulence of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Virulence of Mycobacterium tuberculosis strain means the ability of the bacterium to infect the host. Now, preventions of tuberculosis. How can we prevent the spread of this tuberculosis? TB prevention and control takes two parallel approaches. In the first approach, people with TB and their contacts are identified and then treated. Okay. The patient of TB must be first identified and then treated. In the second approach, children are vaccinated to protect themselves from tuberculosis. But sadly, no reliable vaccine is still yet to develop. But many countries used Bacillus calmette-guerin vaccine as part of the TB control programs, especially for infants. This BCG was the first vaccine for TB and developed at Pasteur Institute in France between 1905 and 1921. However, mass production of this vaccine started only after Second World War. The protective efficacy of BCG for preventing serious forms of TB, especially meningitis in children, is greater than 80%, but in adults it varies from person to person. The first recombinant tuberculosis vaccine entered clinical trials using mice in United States in 2004. Now, a very promising TB vaccine known as NV85A is currently in phase 2 trials in South Africa by a group led by Oxford University, and this vaccine is based on a genetically modified virus. This promising TB vaccine is still in phase 2 trial, okay, yet to be developed. Now, the bacillus causing tuberculosis, the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, was first identified and described on March 24 in 1882 by Robert Koch. And for his discovery, he received the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1905. Koch announced a glycerin extract from tubercle bacilli as a remedy for tuberculosis in the year 1890, calling it as tuberculin. That it was not effective, but later on it was adapted as a test for pre-symptomatic tuberculosis. Pre-symptomatic tuberculosis means the person is already infected with bacterium but yet to show the symptoms. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching.